Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Simple Tech Tips, helping you take the stress out of IT. My name is Chris Mayhew. In this week's episode, we're going to be discussing the desktop and the screensaver. We're going to help you get to know your Mac desktop a little bit better, changing the desktop background, looking at the appearance of the desktop, and also organizing the files and find open applications, or even setting up different desktops so that way you can organize your life a little bit better while you're using a Mac. So if you're sitting down at your computer ready to go, let's get started. All right, so if you're ready, let's go ahead and take a look and let's start getting to know the Mac desktop. So the first thing I'm going to point out is just really the menu bar at the top of your screen. So the menu bar is the bar that starts in the top left-hand corner and goes all the way to the top right-hand corner. It starts with an Apple logo and typically ends with the date and time. Now, the Apple logo is, a good spot to go if you want to learn some details about your Mac, or you want to just jump into your system preferences or the App Store very quickly. You can also see a force quit option. So if you're an old Windows user and you're used to that Control-Alt-Delete, to open the task manager, that's the same thing as force quit here. If something's not responding, you can jump in there. Then of course, sleep, restart, shut down, lock the screen, and to log out if there's multiple users. Now, as you come across from left to right, the first one that you see is Finder. Now, where it says Finder will change based upon the application that you're in. And so right now with Finder, you have File, Edit, View, Go, Window, and Help. Well, if we were to open, say, Chrome or Safari or Mail, the name here would change where it says Finder to that application. And you'll still have File, Edit, and View, and Help, and Window to some degree. But there might be more options that you see in there. Like with Mail, you might see Messages, or with Safari, you might see Bookmarks. But it'll change based upon the application that it is showing right here. So that's just kind of really important to know, so that way, whenever you're looking at these menu options, you are in the proper application. Now, if we scroll all the way over to the right side, you can see here up on the top right of my menu bar, I've got a lot of extra things in here. You probably don't have nearly as many, especially if you're new to the Mac and you're just now getting it set up, or you might have more. It just really depends on how in depth that you go with the computer. Some big ones to point out, this one here is Time Machine. So this is the automatic backup software for the Mac. So if you need help configuring that, we'll be doing future videos on that one. So stay tuned for those, but you can see here, it gives you some options. If you have multiple users on your computer, this is my Do Not Disturb. I don't want any notifications happening right now while I'm talking and doing this video, so I do have Do Not Disturb turned on. But some different options. If you have a portable Mac, you got your battery. You can see what's taking up a lot of your battery's power. You got your Wi-Fi. You got your Spotlight. Again, Spotlight is another great tool on the Mac, and we'll definitely be diving into that in the future videos. This one here is your Control Center. Control Center is pretty important because you can see this is where you can turn your Wi-Fi on and off. This is where you can connect Bluetooth devices, or maybe you want to AirDrop something from your phone or your iPad, or somebody else wants to send something to you. You need to turn it on or off. Quick way to turn on Do Not Disturb. So a lot of options that are in here. You can see I have music running right now, and there's music playing in another part of the office. I can control that from here as well. Siri, of course. My little friend Siri here, she's gonna be listening to me. And then your date and your time in your notification center. So when you actually click on your date and time, it pulls open your notification center, and depending on how you customize it, you can have different things in this notification center list. Now, if we come all the way down to the bottom, this Edit Widgets, this is where we can edit that notification center and these options that are in there. So you can see, beautiful 90 degrees outside, way too hot for me. But all the things that we have kind of going on there. So that's your menu bar, huge part of the Mac and really important for the tools and what you're doing and when you're using it. Now let's jump to the bottom of the screen, which is called the dock. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the dock because the dock is in another video, which we'll post the link below. So if you want to get to know a little bit more about the dock here, we'll talk a lot more about that. But the dock, in essence, is your applications and quick access to those applications. This one here, and the important thing, is the Launchpad. The Launchpad is all the applications on your Mac. So this is everything, whereas the dock are just, think of it as your favorites, the ones you use most of the time. So you can see this is my group of applications I use all the time versus what I have in its entirety on the computer. So now let's have a little bit of fun. So I have this desktop image that I have on the background. Now, a lot of people like to customize their computer, and this is usually the first thing that they like to customize. I mean, Apple has some pretty nice ones that they give you with Yosemite or Big Sur or Monterey, the ones that come default out of the box. But if you wanted to do a little bit more, we're going to go up to that Apple logo in the top left-hand corner, and we're going to go into our system preferences to be able to change this desktop picture. Now I'll always direct you to the Apple logo. It is also the same as the system preferences in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm pointing as if you could see me point. In the bottom right-hand corner of my dock down here is the system preferences, but it's not always on your dock. So let's go ahead and go here, and I will move this over a little bit. But in the second row here, we have desktop and screensaver. So if we click on this, you can see we have our desktop, and I found this picture on Twitter and I loved it, so I stole it and I brought it in. I saved it to my computer, hence the reason why it has that name. Different options on how I could adjust that picture, so you can see it was actually this type of picture, and I had it fill the screen instead, because I'm more of a full screen kind of guy. You can also stretch it, which is going to make it look a little wonky, or center it. So you definitely have different options of what you can do to manage it. Now here, under this Apple section, you have desktop pictures. So dynamic desktop pictures are really cool because what they do is they change throughout the day. So in the morning when there's a sunrise, it's got like a sunrise tint to it. And then as it's middle of the day and it's bright, it's just like the bright full image. And then as it gets closer to sunset, it starts to darken, and then it goes dark, like dark mode on the Mac. So these dynamic ones are pretty neat because they will change and adjust throughout the day based upon the sun and your location. And they'll match that. These light and dark ones, they're just light and dark, as it says. So like during the day, it's light. During the evening, it's dark. Now, if you see any of these little clouds, those clouds mean they're not stored on the computer and they have to actually be downloaded first. So clicking on that cloud will download it to the machine. And the reason why Apple does that is because these files can be relatively large and they don't want to be taking up extra storage space on your computer. So it can download them on the fly and use them as your application or as your background. Now here's some other desktop pictures. These are just really standard ones like the one I have on my background right now that Apple provides. A lot of beautiful ones in there, especially if you're into nature and all that kind of good stuff, but some fun abstract ones too. So I'll use this one as an example. I'll go ahead and click that cloud so it starts downloading. You can see the progress, and now we've simply just changed that picture. Now we can make solid colors if we want as well. That's boring, I'm not going to go through that. You can use your own photos. So if you mark photos as favorites, now this is pulling from the Photos application on the Mac. So this is where this is reading from. Or you could add your own folders. So there's your pictures folder as an example by default. So if you're saving pictures inside of there, you can add those. Or you can come down to this plus and add your own. Now this one here, change picture every, and then it has a time. This is kind of neat because if you want to rotate and cycle through a bunch of pictures, it'll allow you to do that. I will warn you though that if you do it pretty frequently, it does take up a lot of resource power of the machine as it's changing and finding a new photo and changing. I have actually worked with a lot of clients where we had to turn that feature off because every time, with every minute that it rotates, it's always using a lot of processing power in that moment, and it actually significantly slowed down the computer, changing it very often. Every 30 minutes you'd be fine, or maybe even just every day. You won't notice the slowdown then, but every 5 seconds, it's going to slow your machine down, maybe even every minute. So try to extend it a little bit if you use this feature. Now, screensaver, as you can see up at the top, another option. So you can see show screensaver after, and you have the time, how long you want to do it. Now mine has an exclamation point because my display actually will go to sleep before the screensaver turns on. So this is just kind of warning me that like, hey, you're never going to see your screensaver because your display actually goes to sleep. And I have it set up that way primarily because I want to conserve battery power when it's on battery versus, on power. So again, choosing your screensaver, you can choose your source, choose if you want to choose pictures from your photo library. But there's just a lot in here that you can play with, and when you click on it, it gives you an example of what it's going to do. So you can see here's the hello one, very much like when you turn on your computer for the first time, or an iPad or an iPhone, you see this hello written out. Just a standard Monterey background that kind of fades in and out. So again, play in here, customize it. You can use a random screensaver if you want, as you see here at the bottom, or you can even show it with the clock. The clock will float around on the screen, so on and so forth. Hot corners. I'm not going to go into too much detail with hot corners, but hot corners allows you to essentially set up what you want the corners of your screen to do. So you can see how when I go to that hot corner, when I come down here, I can make a quick note, and those are the way I have those set up. So you could actually set up your hot corners to do any one of these things. So if you're big on security, and when you walk away from the screen, you want to make sure it's locked, you could set one of these to be a hot corner. So I can make my bottom left one lock screen, so then if I put my mouse down there, instead of doing mission control like you're seeing now, it actually locks the screen. Not going to do it because then it's going to screw up the whole video. So we're not going to go there. So that's really the desktop and screensaver, and or the desktop picture, I should say, and going through that. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the appearances that you can do. So if we come into a general, this is where we can customize it a little bit more, right? So we have light, dark, and auto. And it's hard to tell, but mine is set to auto. So that means during the day, my screen's light and it's bright. During the evening, it's dark and it switches to dark mode automatically. It's all based upon sunset, right? You have your accent colors. So your accent colors and your highlight colors of things. You could do how big do you want your icons on the sidebar of your Finder? Do you want to show scroll bars? Some people, like when they're scrolling in Safari, like to see the little bar on the side that they can grab with their mouse and drag it up and down. Well, those don't show up natively, but if you like those, you can set it to always, and you'll always see those. Otherwise, you can see mine is set up to automatically do it whenever I'm scrolling, they'll appear. You can set your default web browser, so on and so forth. So just some appearance settings to customize it even a little bit further. Now, let's talk about our desktop as the final thing here. I have a messy desktop, so I have stuff kind of everywhere, right? So one of the nice things with Apple, and I believe, I can't remember, anybody correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong, but I want to say it was with Catalina where you could start using what's called stacks. Stacks is a great feature. So if you can hold the control key down on your keyboard and click on your desktop, you'll see you got all these different options here. And use stacks is what I'm talking about. I'm not going to click it right away, I'm going to explain it. What stacks will do is it'll see the file types and folders that you have on your desktop, and it will stack them up. So imagine you're sitting at your desk and you've got papers everywhere, you got documents everywhere. Well, it's going to take all those documents and put them in a pile. The nice part is when you click on the pile, it spreads them all back out again for you, so that way you can see in the document that you're looking for. So it's really, really convenient to do because it keeps it clean, but yet it has some sense of organization to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do it now, and you'll see if you watch my desktop what happens here. So everything adjusted based upon file type. So things that are Pages documents or Word documents show up under Documents, and you can click it. You can also kind of just scroll through. So I have 2 fingers on my trackpad right now, and I'm going left and right with my mouse over it, and I can see the 2 different files. So if you could see that changing up there. Same with PDFs. So now there's all the PDFs I had on my desktop. And again, same thing. I can scroll through, and you can see me. Spreadsheets, screenshots, it'll do it with images and then folders. And it arranges things in those stacks. Now, if I use stacks, but I can group stacks by kind, when I last opened them, when I modified them. So if I said, I want the things that I've changed the most at the top, you can see my stacks just rearranged, and now it has months and dates based upon those stacks. So a lot of customization option depending on how you like to look at your desktop. I personally like things by kind. I like to keep things together and organized in that way. Thank you for watching. Please click the subscribe button if you want to keep up to date with all of our future videos, and click the thumbs up to let us know if you like this video. We also want to hear from you, so use the comments section below if you have any questions on our video or have videos that you'd like to see us create. We would love to make something pertinent to you, and thanks for watching.